Hi, it's Paul Clifford from Disruptware, and in today's session what we're going to talk about is how to create a design. And it's the most common question, how do I get that idea out of my head and into the head of my developer or my technical team. The key things to understand here is that the more time you spend in this process, then the less cost your overall project will be. I know that, in a ways that does make sense, but, literally, if you spend more time in the design process, just yourself, mapping it out, then you'll spend less money on your development, your communication, your changes, your bug fixing, your testing, everything like that, okay? Because you'd have thought through a lot of the issues that your developers will come back with, and a lot of issues and bugs and things will already be taken care of. So it's really worth investing some time in this process. Now, there's three essential things you need to know. First of all, define what's called a persona. And a persona is basically a description of your user. So what type of users are you going to have for your system? Are they just going to be administrators, clients? What are their roles and rights? What interaction will they have? Will they have access to everything? Will you limit them? Will you have different license restrictions around certain people? Will you have power users in the system? So you just need to define what type of users you have, and they're called personas. And the second thing then is you need to wireframe. And a wireframe is essentially a picture of the screen, okay? And you can just draw that out on paper to start with, or even a whiteboard. I use this a lot, and just map out and draw on screen what it's going to look like. So draw your forms, your labels, your buttons, lists, all that sort of stuff. Draw it out on screen and make sure it's logical, it makes sense. And once you've done that process, then transfer it to a wireframing tool. Okay, and a wireframing tool is a tool that is a bit like a design tool, but it has a lot of the widgets all built in. So the thing is, if you want a button, you can just drag a button in. If you want a list, you just drag a list in. And basically it enables you to build these screens really, really quickly. And with these tools, what you can also do is link screens together. Okay, so if you build a wire screen of your login screen, then you can link the login button, for example, to the next screen within your wireframe, so the whole wireframe starts to become alive. And when you go through this whole process, then you'll start to really understand how your application can work. And you could even then at that stage take it to someone and show them and communicate it really easily. You can even take it to a customer, okay, and get their feedback to make sure you're actually building an application that is actually going to sell. The third thing you need to know is use cases, or user stories, as they're more commonly used, within the lean startup world. And basically, what all this is about is describing the interaction between your users or your personas and the screens. Okay, so behind every button, behind a list, behind any action that you want a user to take, you just need to write a couple of sentences, on what result. When the person clicks on that, what's the result in terms of the user's eyes, okay? So basically that's it, you've got three factors. You've got your personas, your wireframe, and your user stories. And when you put those together and, map that out on your wireframing tool, then you really start to get a design that makes sense not only to your technical team, but also to you. Because remember, the more time and the more effort you put into this whole process, then the less cost and the less risk your whole project will be at the end. I hope you found that useful. This is Paul Clifford from Disruptware.